Okay, here we have Sam, which I already knew him. He is the CTO of Nuvocargo. And Sam, as I told you, with this interview, what I want is that the recruiters that will be listening to this interview, or maybe the candidates that will also have access to this video, can know a little bit more about Nuvocargo from yourself, from your experience. Yep. So I just want to know, like, what does your company do, Nuvocargo? I mean, I can go to
for sure,
internet, but I mean, from your words.
Let me start with our mission statement. Our mission statement is to unlock the potential of people and companies across the Americas by simplifying trade. So at its core, all that Nuvocargo is doing is taking the complexity of moving cargo, moving goods between Mexico, the US, and Canada. And I'm talking about commercial cargo from factory to factory or warehouse to warehouse, big, like everything that moves the economy, big stuff, you know, hundreds, thousands of trucks a month moving things, simplifying all of the complex different stages of that. Because if you are a producer of tequila in Jalisco and you are shipping 10 trucks a month to different parts of the US, if you were to do that by yourself, you need to have a relationship with a Mexican carrier. You need to have a relationship with a Mexican customs broker and the Mexican government at the border. You need to have a relationship with a cruce carrier to take it across the border, US customs, US government, facility on the US side, a US carrier. And that's just for one shipment. And so there's a lot of complexity in every single shipment. And if you're doing 10 of those a month to different places, what Nuvocargo does is compresses that, simplifies that into a single product and service where you can come and say, hey, I need to get these 10 truckloads of goods from this point to these places on these dates. And you've got one point of contact, that is Nuvocargo. That is, we simplify all of that complexity into a product and service that we optimize with software.
That it was really, really clear. And you are the CTO. You sound like the CEO, like a salesman. I mean, you have the speech. Yeah, you have it really, really, really good. And what I mean, so you are a logistic and technology company. It's like, how many people do you have right now?
The whole company is over 50 people now, between the US and Mexico. And our engineering, product and design, engineering, product design and marketing team is about 17 people today.
Okay.
We have 8 or 9 engineers. We have 3 product managers. We have 3 designers, and we've got a couple of product marketers. So we're getting kind of close to 20 people in the EPDM organization, and then about 50 to 60 in the rest of the organization. Okay.
And you're a company which received a Series A. So you received investment. Are you scaling right now? I mean, what is the...
Absolutely. I mean, we are growing so quickly. From when we started, the company began, Deepak and I started this company and built the MVP in March 2019. Our first US-Mexico shipment, and I think it was either avocados or tequila, it was one of the two, was in something like August or September 2019. And we have been growing more than 30% month over month for the past 2.5 years. And so in less than 2 years, we're already in millions of dollars of revenue, and we've raised about $17 million US. Our last investment was April this year, which was $12 million, led by a VC firm called QED, which specifically invests in fintech companies. And so they've invested in us because of the fintech angles that we're going to pursue in the next couple of years.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, I guess that because you're the CTO and one of the founders, and you speak English, that the candidates that you will be looking for should speak English really, really well.
Yeah. So, I mean, our entire company is a bilingual company, especially in engineering, product and design. They need a very good command of English, but a very good command of Spanish as well. Like, people in engineering, product, and design will be interacting both internally with each other in both Spanish and English, interacting sometimes with our clients in Spanish or English, and interacting with the rest of the teams and the stakeholders in both languages as well.
Good, good. And where are your employees based?
Yeah, good question. We have two physical headquarters, one in New York City, one in Mexico City in Polanco. But the engineering, product, and design team is distributed. So we have people all over the place. We have people in New York, we have people in Chicago, we have people in Querétaro, we have people in Guadalajara. I think we've got people in Oaxaca, all over the place. Some people in Mexico City, and those people are able to go into the office if they choose, but generally the digital teams work in a distributed fashion.
Okay, sounds good. And what about the culture of your company? Because it's a kind of distributed, and bilingual. So how would you describe your company culture?
The way our CEO Deepak describes the company culture is it's a crossover between the US, Mexico, or US, LATAM, technology, and logistics. It's like a mashup of all of those things, and it's kind of bringing the best of all of those worlds into one place. And so we're a very multicultural, very multinational team. I think everyone who works in the US is actually some sort of immigrant. I immigrated to the US from New Zealand. Deepak, my co-founder, immigrated to the US from Ecuador. Anaida, head of product, is originally from Chihuahua. She's in New York now. So,
well, most of the people who live in New York is like,
that's true. It's a
multicultural city.
And so we embrace that multicultural nature of the business. In terms of the engineering and product and design organization, I think culturally, we're driven by intellectual curiosity. We're driven by teaching each other, learning from each other. There's a lot of pair programming that goes on.
Okay.
There's a lot of collaboration. So despite us being distributed and remote, we're almost always on these sorts of calls together, working on problems together. So I would actually, it's kind of interesting. I've been in many co-located companies working in offices, and I actually find I probably collaborate more and more intensely at Nuvocargo, despite it being distributed, than other companies I've been where we've been in physical offices.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, like, how is the way that you train your employees? And maybe you have, I don't know if you pay courses or not, but I perceive that even if you don't take any course, you will be trained by maybe like your pair, because you will be pair programming, for example.
Yeah. And so we do have access to courses. I am always willing to encourage and pay for people to keep learning, even if that's on an ad hoc basis. So company-wide, we pay for subscriptions. We pay for English and Spanish classes for people. We have LinkedIn Learning. We have a bunch of initiatives across the whole company. But even on an ad hoc basis, if people want to learn about different things, about front-end frameworks, about back-end technologies, this and the other thing, I always encourage that, and I will always, pay for that with like a Nuvocargo kind of learning stipend for people within the kind of the engineering, product, and design organization. But I think you're right in that the most learning actually comes from doing and getting right in the weeds and in the trenches with each other, because I personally learn best by applying my learning to a real problem. And that's what we have a lot of at Nuvocargo. We have a lot of real world, very complex, very difficult problems. And the best way to learn is to start tackling them with people who are already in the flow on those things. And it is a very, very much that methodology of anyone new who onboards will dive straight into the code base with someone who already knows it and kind of learn on the job.
Yeah, and you know, engineers, product managers, and all the tech talent itself, they love jobs where apart from a good salary, they will be learning so that they can apply then that thing that they learn in another job or in
Yeah,
their career. And talking about this, what I mean, nobody pretend that I don't know, maybe you pretend this, but most of the people don't pretend that a employee will stay in your company more than, I don't know, maybe 2 years. It's like more than two
yeah,
or 3 years.
sure. Yep.
It's not probably. What do you think about that? Is there any career plan or just come here, learn, collaborate, and then go and do yourself in do what
So
you...
two answers to that. It's very early on right now. I'm actually working on that exact career ladder today because we are growing very quickly, very aggressively. And so I am actually working on that career progression. But even if we had a really nice ladder of how you can level up and what your path can be, I think it's still the case that people these days, 3 or 4 years is actually a long tenure these days. I'm actually of the attitude as a manager and like as a leader, I'm always of the attitude that I am going to serve the business best if I serve the people in the business in their own interests. And so if it is in someone's best interest to go and pursue something else, I actually fully support that. But every day, my job is to make sure that people are engaged in what they're doing. And sometimes things are hard and sometimes things are frustrating, but once a month, once a quarter, people should be able to step back and reflect and be like, wow, I've learned a lot. I'm a better person for kind of everything that I've been through, and I want to keep doing this. And so it's actually my job to make sure that people are engaged and happy. And if it gets to the point that they're ready to move on, that's totally fine. I actually support people doing the next thing if that's not available at Nuvocargo.
Okay, yeah, totally. And I mean, I made up myself. I imagine myself like how is the ideal employee at Nuvocargo, but I would like you to have the chance to explain how do you think the ideal candidate for Nuvocargo is. How would you describe it?
The ideal candidate is someone who is a lifelong learner and is very engaged in what I call the craft of software. It's something that can never be mastered, but it's something that the person has this kind of intuitive and instinctual drive to keep growing and perfecting, but knowing that it's impossible to become a master. So that kind of approach and that lens on software as a craft, that there is kind of no 100% right answer in any context. There's only the best answer. So that attitude of like viewing software in that lens is kind of one of the first things that I'll say. The second thing in terms of ideal candidate, in terms of past experience, I actually really value, so everyone at Nuvocargo today is somewhat of a generalist. People have expertises in various areas, but we don't have a front-end team. We don't have a back-end team. We have product engineering teams, and everyone can do a little bit of everything. And even if someone can't do a little bit of everything, we want them to have the attitude that they're happy to lean into that and learn to do that, because there are people around you who can mentor you and help you do that. And so as long as people are open to and hungry to learn and grow and be the kind of best version of them and progress in the craft of software, that's like the attitude that we want. In terms of more kind of senior developers, what I always look for is people who have lots of battle scars, people who've had lots of failures in the past, and maybe not the like failures can turn people into skeptics and kind of grouches, right?
Yeah.
But people who, rather than turning those failures into grouchiness, turn them into, hey, actually, I'm a better person for all those failures. I can now apply my learnings to new situations from everything I've learned in the past. And so that's kind of my sign of a senior mature developer, is taking all the failures and battle scars from their past and applying them to new situations.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I mean, that's it. Here we finish. Did I miss something? Would you like to say something that I didn't ask you, for example?
I think a couple of things. So I think because we're so early on, 8 engineers today at Nuvocargo, we're so early. People who join at this stage of the company have a big opportunity to influence the future of Nuvocargo's engineering culture, the technology stack, and the languages itself. I am not dogmatic about any one specific technology. I actually think that should flow freely from the teams themselves, making decisions about what makes most sense. And today is the best time if you are interested in shaping the future of an engineering organization from a cultural perspective, from a technological perspective. There are a huge number of opportunities at Nuvocargo today and now that won't be here in 2 years' time. So I think that's a huge opportunity. I think, interestingly and ironically, we're a relatively early stage startup, a Series A startup, but because of the money that we've raised, we actually probably offer more job security than a lot of corporate environments, right? We can afford to hire and retain people. And so there's actually a lot of job security at a startup, which might sound counterintuitive at this startup in particular. And then I think finally, which is important for me and important for the people who join Nuvocargo, the team that we've built so far and who the people who are at Nuvocargo today are some of the most intelligent and talented people from all sorts of industries around the world. And I personally am very energized and motivated working with really smart, motivated people. And that's what we're looking for, is people who not only are smart and motivated themselves, but who are hungry to work around other smart and motivated people.
That was good, eh? That was good. I like it. You convinced me, at least. So, well, Sam, I mean, right now I'm gonna stop the recording. Sure. This is it, so that all the recruiters who watch this video, they will have like very good information to start looking for candidates.